Hello everyone, my name is Reese and welcome to my channel. The life of an art major in The Sims 2 University. Long nights in the studio, existential crisis over color theory, and of course, some of the most ridiculous class names ever written. So if you thought being an artist was all about inspiration and creativity, The Sims 2 says, think again. So let's take a deep dive into this absurd degree and its chaotic curriculum. Art. The study of visual forms. What better pursuit than to devote one's life to the pursuit of the beautiful or thought-provoking? Whilst the disciplines are diverse indeed, all artists are brought together with one goal: creation. So when your sim wants to be a major in art, they will have to go through university, and the first year, the freshman year, has a semester with a class called Stick Figures, lowering the bar. So the name is a funny reference to how stick figures are the most basic form of drawing, often used and done by people with little artistic skills. So it might be a satirical take on how even the simplest artists' attempts can even be considered art, and also how some artists start with stick figures before developing more advanced skills. It could also be poking fun at minimalist or abstract art movements, where simplicity is sometimes mistaken for lack of effort. But that's only the class of the first semester, because when you reach the second semester, the class is called Life Drawing, an excuse to see naked people. So the name is a humorous reference to live drawing classes, where artists sketch from live nude models. So I guess that this plays on the stereotype that some people might sign up for these classes not for artistic development, but as an opportunity to see nudity. Which is fair, I guess, or something. So this joke has been a common pop culture trope. It's an often exaggerated idea that live drawing is less about mastering anatomy and more about the scandalous aspects of drawing nude people. And maybe it's also a general pun to young people and to youth who are obviously not teenagers anymore, but might still be a bit fixated on exploring human anatomy. Let's just put it that way, right? But your sim is growing up, and the second year, the sophomore year, has a first semester class called Underwater Basket Viewing. Art meets fitness. So the phrase or the name is a reference to the long-running joke about underwater basket viewing being a useless or absurdly easy college course. So in reality, basket viewing underwater is a real and traditional craft practiced to keep reeds wet and flexible while viewing. However, in pop culture, it's become shorthand for a pointless or ridiculous college class, often used to mock liberal arts degrees. So the second semester class is called Oil Painting and Other Ways to Poison Oneself. And the name is likely a darkly humorous reference to the toxic materials historically used in oil painting. So there are toxic pigments in many traditional oil paints. They contained highly toxic substances such as lead and mercury. And artists working with these materials risk poisoning themselves through skin contact or accidental ingestion. Oil painting also often involves the use of turpentine, mineral spirits and other solvents, which can be harmful if inhaled over long periods. And like poor ventilation or prolonged exposure could lead to serious health effects. Also, there are a few historical cases of poisoning, like some famous painters like Caravaggio were suspected of suffering from lead poisoning due to the use of toxic pigments. So this is a dark pun, but with real and historical aspects. But if we move on while our sim moves forward, the sim has now reached junior year. And the first semester of this year is called Art History 1. Artist you'll never be as good as. So the name is a reference to the intimidating nature of studying great artists in art history, I guess, because there are impossibly high standards of art history, Like art students spend their studies analyzing legendary figures like Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Van Gogh, and Picasso. But I guess it could also be a reference to the struggles of art students, because many art students experience imposter syndrome, feeling like their work will never reach the heights of historical masterpieces. And this course title plays into that insecurity with brutal honesty. And I guess that is also just a typical art school sarcasm, because in many creative fields, professors or textbooks often idolize past artists while making modern students feel like their work is inferior. So for The Sims 2, this is a sarcastic, maybe a bit over-the-top humor, because they could just have called the class Art History 101, but no, they had to make it ironic and iconic. But the second semester class is called Art History 2. Artists you're already way better than. So tables are turning here, and we are actually getting acknowledged for what we can do. So it's a hilarious contrast to the previous class, and it could be a funny reference to how art is subjective, and some historical artists are considered overrated or technically unimpressive, also compared to modern standards. And of course it's also a reference to how not every artist in history was a genius. Some were mediocre, forgotten, or just plain bad. And yet they still made it into the history books. So this course could be about those lesser known figures, implying that your sim is already more talented. So it is an eco boost for art students. After crushing their confidence in Art History 1, this class gives students a morale boost by reminding them that some artists in history weren't actually that great. So maybe your sim is better than a few of them. Maybe not. But even if your sim is good or not good at doing art, they have reached the senior year at this point. And the first class of this semester is called Impressionism and Other Blurry Moments. So the name is a reference to the art movement Impressionism, which is known for its loose brushwork and focus on capturing fleeting moments and the effects of light. And that is often creating like a blurry or soft focus effect in the artwork. So the phrase, of course, might also metaphorically reference times in life or experiences that feel unclear or difficult to define, similar to the way Impressionist paintings often emphasize emotion or atmosphere rather than clear, sharp detail. It might also suggest other artistic or personal experiences that reflect moments of uncertainty or fading clarity, because the blurry moments could symbolize moments of transition, change, or perception, where things aren't fully resolved or understood, much like the Impressionist style itself, and it could also make good sense for students almost graduating university and soon will be settling down with career and maybe a family. But the second and last semester is called Conceptual Art. No, really, it's art. So the name is a reference to the often controversial nature of conceptual art, which is a movement that emerged in the 1960s and focuses on the idea or concept behind the artwork rather than the traditional aesthetics or visual qualities. So the phrase, "No, really, it's art," may reflect the skepticism or confusion that many people might feel towards conceptual art, which often challenges traditional definitions of what actually constitutes art. So many of these conceptual art pieces may seem unconventional or even simplistic, such as a written statement or a performance or just everyday objects presented as art, which leads to the question, is this really art? Like, we can all imagine ourselves in an art museum, especially a modern art museum, looking at something, thinking, could I have done this? Is this art? It is indeed a legitimate form of artistic expression which pushes the boundaries of what art can be. So students may have wondered why they needed to study something that doesn't seem like art, but hey, it is art. But while your sim now has graduated and is a major in arts, they needed skills to get there. And you need a lot of skills in cooking, mechanic, charisma, and creativity, which makes great sense, at least for some of them. But if we dive into the cooking skill, for example, you need 4 of those. Personally, my first thought was that cooking skills might be useful for mixing colors and treating different materials, but that seems too true and not really satirical enough for The Sims 2. So maybe that edge is that many artists can't live off their work and thus need to have either other jobs or to manage practical everyday skills alongside their creative pursuits. So if we take a look at the mechanics skill, you need 4 of these. That could be a reference to the idea that being an artist often requires practical problem-solving skills beyond just creativity. So mechanics skill might symbolize the hands-on technical aspects of creating art, particularly like for certain art forms that involve building or constructing physical pieces. I'm thinking sculptures, installation art, or even repairing or maintaining artistic tools and your equipment. So I guess this could reflect how artists often have to be resourceful and know how to handle unexpected situations. The third skill they need is the charisma skill, and they need 4 of those. And I think this could be a reference to the social and networking aspects of being an artist, because in the art world, relationships, self-promotion and communication are often key to gaining visibility and opportunities. So charisma in this context could symbolize the importance of being able to present yourself well, like connect with others and even sell your art, whether it's through gallery openings, receptions, interviews, or like social events in general. And it might also allude to the idea that artists often need to be able to engage and persuade others, so whether it's to gain support for their projects, collaborate with others, or to make their work more marketable. Charisma could represent this skill of building a public persona or cultivating relationships with collectors and curators and other figures in the art world, which is just as essential to an artist's career as their actual creative skills are. And obviously, your sim needs creativity to become an art major. They need 5 of those skills. And this is the most direct reference to the core of what it means to be an artist, because creativity is the foundation of the art world, and in the context of the game, this skill could symbolize the ability to think outside of the box, to generate new ideas, and to express yourself through various mediums. In a broader sense, I guess it could be a commentary on how artistic careers are often driven by the ability to innovate and come up with original concepts, because artists need creativity to push boundaries, to challenge norms, and to create pieces that resonate with people. So this skill might emphasize that an art major isn't just about learning techniques or mastering tools, it's about developing and nurturing one's imagination, the vision, and the personal artistic voice. But anyway, now we have an art major and now we have graduated. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, please let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for other videos. Bye!